Welcome to Go Solo Live.
Don't you mean go solo live? Have you ever been asked why on earth would you travel alone? Go Solo Live not only answers that question, but celebrates life as a midlife solo traveler. This is a safe place for women to come together to reminisce about their travels, encourage others to travel, and to dig into the real lessons learned from these journeys. Now join Jennifer Buchholz with Transform Via Travel as she and her guests share stories of the solo travelers of midlife women.
Hello, sisters, and welcome to Go Solo Live. This is Jennifer Buchholz with Transform Via Travel. It's time to sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy my conversation with Ellen Saksen as she shares about the joys and some of the pitfalls of solo business travel and what her organization, Go Jane Go, and Amelia are doing to remedy some of those challenges. Joining me today is Ellen Saksen. She's going to share a little bit about her solo travels as well as an innovative new app to help more solo travelers not feel so alone when they travel. Welcome, Ellen.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer. It's great to be here.
So let's get started by you telling me a little bit about how the solo travel bug bit you.
Sure. I remember, well, way back when I was very little, actually, and my parents took us to Guatemala. My father was in the Peace Corps, and he looked at it as a lot of adventure and ability to help other people, and really made him who he was. And so that was travel in general. That was something we always did as a family. And then when I studied abroad, I went abroad on my own, and it was there that I sort of realized that intersection between terror and adventure. And I ended up on the adventure side, where I really had an amazing experience and, got into a lot of crazy and wonderful situations that would only have come about because I took the chance and went places by myself. And so that sort of solidified it with me. And then, as I grew into my career, I was being sent all over the place by myself. And I think probably my favorite trip ever was, I don't even know how the planets aligned to send me to Cassis, France. It's in the Riviera. There was a conference there that I had to go to, and I went on my own, and it didn't even occur to me to be timid in any way until I got there. And I thought, now what? I've made this whole way from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to, through Paris, through Marseille, to Cassis, and here I am at the semiconductor conference, and I want to see the place. And that's when I started walking around, and at that point I kind of wished I had someone to share it with, because it was so different from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that was, I think, the beginnings of when I started thinking about, is there something I could do for the female business traveler who lands in places like this and, wants to enjoy, a local specialty with someone? You can certainly do it on your own, but in those moments, those really sort of special moments where I felt really fortunate to be in a situation, I did feel that urge to share it with someone. I was lucky that I made friends while I was there, but for many solo female business travelers, it can be more of a slog. And so what we're trying to do with our product is to open up that world a little bit so that we can find each other.
Well, and let's talk about some of the myths about solo business travel and business travel in general. I find it so interesting when I talk to people who maybe extend their business travel and go actually exploring, that they don't necessarily realize that what they're doing is solo travel. But there's a lot of myths versus reality. We could do probably several episodes about those differences. What were some of the things that when you thought you were getting started, let's talk about maybe your assumptions. What were some of the things that you thought were going to be related to travel and business, and what was the reality?
Early in my career, or, in working with nonprofits, I thought that, we were going to be on such a shoestring budget that I wouldn't be able to see anything or do anything or enjoy anything, or that I would just be so overworked that I wouldn't have the desire to go out and see anything. And for me, the opposite was true. The great thing about business travel is that you get somewhere, and you get somewhere, your company's paying for you. They put you up at a hotel, they generally pay for that and for the airfare. And I think it's wonderful when you have an opportunity to extend those trips for a couple of days, because the bulk of the expense has been taken care of by your company. You do a good job for them, and then you can do a good job for you, and you can expand your own horizons and see the places, yourself. But, in terms of, not being able to see things or whatever, there's always a little bit of free time. And I think too, it's up to you. If you're truly a wanderer, if you truly have that wanderlust, you're going to find the time, even if it's at 8 p.m. after your meetings are over, and stepping outside your hotel into a new city or a new place and taking that breath of fresh air, and, really thinking about how it differs from how your hometown smells, or, what kinds of drinks they're even serving at the bar, as opposed to the place around the corner from your own home. These are all differences that you discover when you're traveling.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because, first of all, when I thought about doing travel for work earlier in my career, I was interviewing for a job that could have sent me all over the world. It was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And because you were traveling so much for work, they were very willing to give you some time, like an additional number of weeks off of work, which was great. But what I also found is that when we were traveling, work was a very long day. It was a very early morning. It was a very long day. It was going to be doing corporate training. So we'd end 5 or 6 o'clock. And then because it was a certification program, I would be responsible for like grading papers of sorts into the evening. And that was like 5 days of that type of work. And then you head home. And when I looked at what, my idea of what work and travel was going to be, and then that version of reality, like, that's not what I'm looking for when I'm looking at travel.
I see what your question was now. Like, how, when you say you've landed an international, or a job that requires international travel, that sounds really glamorous, but in reality, it's not. Most of the time you are working a long day, and you've had to catch connections, and your flights are late, and you get to hotels and they're overbooked, and so you have to move, or you get stuck in the tiny little rental car as opposed to the normal sedan you rented. Yeah, I mean, these are all stories that we hear over and over from the women who are traveling. Generally there's always something that goes wrong. And if you can get through it, if you can power through that to, the end, sometimes you have opportunities to expand your horizons a little bit. But yeah, I mean, business travel is exhausting. I mean, business travel burnout is a real thing, right? Because you're away from your bed and your family and, your television and the foods that you like, and, your routine. So it does wear, most definitely.
It does. And so understanding though, like, again, knowing what you think it's going to be, and then asking the questions to make decisions about whether that's going to work for you, and what can you negotiate? Like I said, in that particular role, there was a lot of vacation weeks. I think there could have possibly even been like 1 vacation week per month. But if you think about that number of vacation weeks, the other side of that is, how many weeks am I traveling per month? Right. So it's just all about perspective. But your point earlier was spot on. They have paid for you to get to a destination. They have made arrangements. You don't have to do a lot of the thinking. You show up to board, you get on. Yes, some things could go wrong, but you're there and the company's handling it. So sometimes that means that you can even do some dining that you might not have been able to do, or things like that. Right. So what about the perks? I mean, we know that there can be some negatives, but what are some of the amazing perks?
Right. So, going to places you've never been before, if that's something that's appealing to you. I would never have gotten to see places like the south of France and tiny villages in Germany, and, any number of other places if I hadn't been working, and my company sent me to those places. So number one, it's, your worldview opens up. Whether it's a geographical location or a new food that you're trying, so that's fantastic. Sometimes when you're traveling for business, you do get to travel with colleagues, and it's a great opportunity to strengthen relationships with superiors or teammates. And nothing nothing solidifies a relationship like sleeping in an airport together because you've missed flights or flights have been canceled, right? That's real. That's humanity. And you learn a lot about each other and your coping skills. It really does test you in a lot of interesting ways. And I think you show your mettle by, getting through and coming out the other side and being, a stronger employee and a stronger teammate. So there are plenty of perks to it as well.
Absolutely. So would you share with us one of the adventures that you've had? So again, what we've talked a little bit about is either while you're on your trip for work or possibly even bookending the trip with some personal travel time. What's been one of your best experiences that you've had?
I think I've been really lucky in that I got to travel a lot to Europe early in my career. And then did more domestic stuff, sort of mid-career where I am now. But certainly, I think the trips I think my favorite trip to Germany was one where I had to do 2 trips. And so instead of coming back to the United States, I just stayed. And so I had 4 or 5 days between the 2 weeks that I had to be in Germany. It wouldn't have made sense to come home.
Sure.
And, right. So, and I happened to be there during the week of the Tulip Festival in the Netherlands. Didn't know it was a thing, saw an ad for it. And, train travel in Europe is so easy. So, the train ride from Berlin to Amsterdam was, not that long, 4 or 5 hours, and got off in Amsterdam, took another little train to Kirchhoff, and got to see literally millions of tulips in these undulating fields. And it was crowded. I never for a minute felt like I was alone. It was just pure color and joy. And I never would have, it's not like a tulip festival was on my radar screen. I just stumbled upon it. And it's one of my most memorable trips, most colorful trips, certainly. And now I have tulips all over my yard because I fell in love with them, that shaped me as a person. And that changed me. And I'm so grateful for, opportunities like that we get when we take a little bit of a chance, right? And we stay and we venture out, and great things happen.
That's a perfect example that you just took an opportunity. You didn't have a plan. You went with the flow, and look what happened.
Yeah. And I'll admit I was a little, a little unnerved. Like, what am I going to do for these 4 or 5 days by myself? And I even speak German. It's not even that I was in a culture that I didn't know, but, there's a little bit of anxiety when you have all this time and you don't know anyone per se. But I really did have to give into it and let myself start to see things that could be opportunities. And that was a journey in and of itself.
Well, that's a great excuse to start to just shift your perspective a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and again, let's take a moment on that one though. You recognize the opportunity. So it was going to be 4 days between your trips. It probably was cheaper for them to keep you there than to pay for, another round trip flight.
True. Yep.
Don't hesitate to explore those opportunities when they come up, because they can be pretty awesome.
That's right.
That's cool. Well, very good. Well, the other thing that we've talked about though, and part of the place that I want to take this conversation today is talking about feeling lonely when we travel. And it doesn't necessarily matter whether you're traveling for business or whether you're traveling for pleasure. Solo travel can have its own elements of lonely. Now, I would actually say that we're only as lonely as we allow ourselves to be. But that doesn't, just that lovely comment doesn't mean that people naturally will feel comfortable approaching others for conversation and feeling safe in doing that. So that's where part of the work that you're doing now has led you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. And I agree with you completely, Jennifer. You can't just, we are as lonely as we choose to be in a lot of cases. And I know that's true because I still, even though I'm older now and I have my own company that is supposed to address these issues, I still have to give myself a talk in the mirror. When I get home to a hotel after a long day of working, I literally stand in front of the mirror and say, you can do this, Ellen. Go down to that bar. And I don't even go down looking for friends. I give myself the talk because I deserve to be down there as much as any other person. And I've certainly earned, for a glass of wine and to relax with a book or a newspaper, or just to stare into space, or strike up a conversation with the bartender. And it really is a mind shift, right? You have to just say, just do it. I mean, I hate to borrow a phrase from Nike, but, square your shoulders and just do it and be open to it, because I don't think I've ever had an experience where I regretted it, So I agree with you and your sentiment there. It is a lot of times a mindset. But that being said, business travel, solo business travel can be lonely. I will not deny that, especially if you do it a lot, like you were talking about. 3 weeks out of the month is a lot, and a lot of consultants are faced with that reality of getting on a plane on a Monday and coming back on a Thursday night at midnight, and that's a long road to hoe.
Absolutely. So before you created this environment where people can connect, what did you do to connect? I understand forcing yourself to go down to the bar or to go down and grab dinner, but what other things did you do to connect?
Honestly, I didn't. I would square my shoulders and go down and hope that I could find a comfortable corner spot. Maybe there'd be another woman there that I could make eye contact with and strike up a conversation. But, I would generally bring my armor, which was, my iPad or a book or, a brief that I was reading or something like that. I think, what I generally tried to do is not prevent myself from doing anything that I wanted to do. So I would take a walk. I would go for a run. I would walk by a restaurant and see if it looked amenable to a solo diner. But I'm in my 40s. I'm tired of doing that. And that's why we built the platform, because there comes a point where you've accomplished enough in your professional life and personal life. And for me and my co-founder, it was a sort of building irritation that I just closed $1 million deal and I just want to talk to someone now. And it shouldn't be an issue. So I think I had to reach a certain amount of maturity that, what we say in some of our conversations is that women have gotten to the point where we have learned how to deal with things like sexual harassment. We shrug it off. It happens so often that we're just like, okay, whatever. And we walk away, pretend it doesn't happen. And Kate and I really felt like we don't want to get used to sitting by ourselves. We want to see about other possibilities. And so with building the app, we're trying to say, you can be alone if you want, because sometimes I want to be. But for those times that you don't, you can find someone else who shares your professional or personal interests, or, wants to go for a run with you on those times when you just want to connect with another human being.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the app that we've alluded to.
Sure. So we built Amelia, which is an app for the global community of female business travelers. And we took some inspiration from Amelia Earhart, who was one of the most driven and accomplished and stylish and plucky women we could find in American history. And she loved what she did, and she did it with flair and confidence. And, that to us defines the sort of typical American female business traveler. So we named it Amelia. And if you go to amelia-app.com, you can meet, at this point, maybe 100 other women. We just went live 10 days ago. So we're building the community now.
That's awesome.
And yeah, we're getting there, right? You can search other women based on location or their professional interests, like entrepreneurship and marketing and finance, or their personal interests like yoga, dogs, psychic readings, that kind of thing, whatever. And find women who are, who at least share the knowledge, the understanding of what it's like to travel solo, and who have to do it for their livelihood, really. And that is a banner that is a strong unifier. So yeah, you
Absolutely.
can find each other and have decide what you want to do. The app is, you do in-app messaging, so it's a safer platform with LinkedIn verification. And the hope is that you will be safer and more productive, and that you might grow your network as well.
Awesome. So it's a win-win-win. So again, you mentioned safety. You mentioned, this idea of connecting. So there's the network that you're growing as well. So this is excellent. So who are your users? Can you give us a little bit of a profile of who you're finding are most interested in connecting through this tool?
Yes, absolutely. We've done a lot of customer research, and so our personalities kind of fall into a couple of different groups. There's the woman who travels a lot, so 9 to 12 times a month or a year or more rather, and she's usually in sales and consulting. So she has a title that involves one of those two, and she's like the true road warrior, and she works hard and she plays hard, and she knows the ins and outs of travel, and she just wants to connect with another human being, right?
Got it.
Because she's on the road so much. There are users who are looking at this as an opportunity to network up, to network over, or to even be networked into by younger, less experienced professionals. So it's it's really a networking situation for them. And then there are also some, more accomplished, more mature users who are really looking to grow their networks in a truly professional sort of C-suite kind of way. And they really are looking for connections that are on their level to really discuss the harder hitting, strategic areas of career development and the problems that they're dealing with. But what we do find, what connects all of them, is that they are educated, generally curious, outgoing, some introverts, some extroverts, but they view travel as an opportunity to get out of the hotel room and into the city.
Excellent. And where are you finding that these folks are traveling more to? And are you mostly finding US based, or are they people from all over?
So right now it's US based because we were only a couple days old, and our hope is that once we get a good solid network here, we'll start seeing more members from abroad. Chicago is the most traveled city, most flown in and out of for business travel. So we have a couple from Chicago, New York, San Francisco. We're located in Pittsburgh, so that's the biggest numbers are out of Pittsburgh because that's our own personal network. But next we have New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Orlando, all represented already. So, and that lines up because those are the most traveled cities for business travel in this country. But, my personal hope is that in the future that we see more international women because it's great to have someone to have a glass of wine with when you're in Chicago, but what about when you go to a culture you don't understand, or where there's a language you don't speak? It's even more important to have some local connections there. And so the hope is that we can grow this into, a true global resource for the female business traveler.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic and so needed. Again, to make those quality connections.
Right.
So I know for me, when I want to make connections when I'm traveling, one of the tools that I use is just using a generic meetup. Mm-hmm. And, the reason I'm mentioning it is because there's pros and cons to those kinds of things. So it's the idea of, if we're looking for ways to connect, there are often ways to connect.
True.
But the quality of those connections and what you're going to be getting out of them longer term will vary based on the way that you're choosing to do it. So, for example, when I was in Spain, I was with my stepdaughter, and we went to a meetup, and it was an opportunity for a whole bunch of professionals, and they were there practicing their English. So that was great. And it allowed us to communicate in the same language, and we met a lot of different people. But it's also, again, you're out at a meetup. So people are there with their own various agendas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say that I felt unsafe, but it's not something that I would have recommended my 27-year-old stepdaughter to go do on her own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so that's where, you look at things from a few different points of view. And again, why I'm bringing this up is we have all sorts of different listeners to this show. And we have some people who are traveling for business, and we have people who travel for pleasure. And knowing that these different opportunities exist is the first step.
Right. Yeah, I think meetups are a great way to explore a local community, right? And there's so many. They're a fantastic model, and we looked a lot at Meetup, and we looked to them for cues about user experience and just general affability, right? Because it's an affable site. And I think the only thing that one of the things that makes us different is that there's a real time element when you're traveling for business. If your flight gets in on time, and if you have time, and if your hotel room is ready, then you have a moment and you realize you're starving. You can open up our app and it's real time messaging, and Meetup is not yet that, right? You have to plan a little bit ahead, and that's just because the business traveler has different needs that happen at the last minute, really, right?
Well, and that's exactly it. That's why so many of these tools that are available to us all have their own role, right, and they all can create a very well-rounded experience. Right. But you're absolutely right. So many things come up for the good or bad. If your flight's delayed and you can't get out that night, and you're frustrated because you can't get home for your kid's birthday party, and you do not want to sit in a hotel room alone one more night, you really need some company. That's a different experience as well.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, so we've had an opportunity to share a little bit about Amelia, but before Amelia, there was Go Jane Go.
Yeah. Yes.
What's the story?
Jane. So right now, we started with Go Jane Go, and we love Jane. She's independent and fun and plucky, and that's where you'll find our blog, which is where all the hilarious stories are about the crazy things that happen when you travel alone. But the app itself, we felt needed her own identity. And so that's why. And we also thought too, there may be other products as we grow Amelia and we talk to more business women, maybe there are other things that we're going to need to do. So that's why we decided to Amelia out of Jane and give her her own identity. And lucky for us, when we made a list of all the women that are inspiring to us in the world, Amelia Earhart was at the top. And we actually talked to the organization that controls her estate, and asked them for permission to sort of channel Amelia in what we were trying to do, and we were lucky enough that they gave us that permission and understand and support what we're trying to do. So that's pretty exciting, I think. Also.
So you're doing it with their blessing, which is It's not just like this theoretical be like Amelia, but it's actually like with their blessing, which is a big deal too.
Yeah, it's cool. I was pretty excited when we got the okay.
I would say, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what do you see in the future? I know you've just launched, but I also think that you're always looking, 2 steps down the road when you're in this innovation space.
Right.
What do you see coming in the future?
So right now the pilot is live. So if you join now, you're going to be part of this beta period where we're testing and we're asking you questions, and I'm encouraging you. You're going to get emails from me, asking you about your experience and if you've met people, and then in October, we'll take everything that we learned and sort of reformulate and maybe better understand how women are using the app, if they're using the platform, how they're using it, when they're using it, why they're using it, and try to optimize the design and the flow and the functionality. And the hope is that, in the new year in 2018, we'll launch a fresh native app, which you'll be able to download from the iTunes Store or Google Play, and we really start to build the community exponentially over the next year. And then go global is the hope too, that it grows. We have some great supporters working with us behind the scenes. We've got some great social influencers that, hope to jump on board. So, when we're ready and we've tested and we're sure it's functioning, then, we hope to grow and really make a difference.
So do you see that this opportunity exists throughout the world, or is it something that you find more is a local, not US based issue, but, are US based travelers, different in their lonely experience than other travelers?
I don't think so. No, I mean, I think what we have heard from our focus groups is that women love having the opportunity to change their business travel realities, but that really when they're going to places where they don't know the culture and don't know the language, that they really, really would love to have a tool like this to meet local, not even necessarily other women who are traveling. Let's say, Jennifer, if you and I were going to Dubai, we might meet up, but I'd also love to meet a woman in Dubai, right? Who could take me around and explain things to me, and would be willing to be a partner for me, some night. So we really see that the global platform is I think our would be the be all end all for us in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So what's next on your solo travel agenda? Do you have more trips on the radar as you're out, working through this process?
Yes. So I know that I'll be before the end of the summer, I will have been to, the big business travel cities, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and I think Charlotte, because we're trying to build local communities there, ambassadors there who will be available to meet any women in the Amelia community who travel to those places. So I'm out sort of building support in the big business travel cities in this country over the summer. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
We're on a shoestring budget and bootstrapping, so I will be traveling solo.
Well, so is this an opportunity that we could put out a call for action to those listeners who are possibly located in those cities, that they should be reaching out to you to connect?
I would love that, Jennifer. I always love meeting other female business travelers and hearing their stories, because they're all so vibrant and usually interesting or funny. So yeah, I am always available. My email is esaksen@gojanegoapp.com. You can also find me through my website, through the Go Jane Go website, and through the amelia-app.com website, and maybe even contact information here on the podcast. But yeah, I am all ears, and we also join sign up for the app and be one of our testers, and relay the information, good, bad, or ugly, to me so we can make a better product.
Absolutely. And so what will happen is that contact information will be in our show notes. So that's fantastic.
Great.
But aside from that, just out of curiosity, when you're building that community, if I'm in Milwaukee, so I'm not
right.
This is not the biggest travel hub city for business. I'm certain that's hard for you to believe.
I love Milwaukee, Jennifer. I love Milwaukee.
Me too. It's hometown. So I do love Milwaukee, but I also have a realistic view of it. And so my question is, if I wanted to have more contact or serve as kind of a host of these female travelers, is that something that, am I a part of your community from that perspective?
100%.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yes.
Very cool.
Please take a look at the app, sign up, and the next person I know who's going to Milwaukee, I will encourage them to reach out to you. Absolutely.
That would be a blast. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us today, Ellen. And Amelia is just at the very front road of success right now. I can't wait to have another conversation with you to say we're launching the next iteration.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm excited to be here. It's an exciting time for us, exciting and terrifying. And I can't wait to just continue to meet these amazing women who are experiencing all these things on their own, and to meet them when they're doing it.
That's awesome. Well, so Again, they'll be able to find you using the show notes. Listeners, don't hesitate to jump in and sign up for Amelia and be one of the testers. An early adopter is a lot of fun because you get to see the progress of something like that. And this is a huge movement, and it's so necessary. Let's make our solo business travelers feel at home and give them an experience that maybe they wouldn't have gotten.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for your support. I think what you're doing is great, and all the women out there that are putting on their and grabbing their passports and putting on their hiking boots or whatever. It's so wonderful to run into them, and we're changing the face of travel, whether it's business or leisure. We're changing the face of it.
That is real. That is real. Thanks again, Ellen. You have a great day.
You too, Jennifer. Thanks.
Wasn't it great to hear the stories that Ellen shared with us today? Don't forget that you can check out Amelia and find ways to connect with other solo women business travelers from all over the world. If you love these stories and want to help support Go Solo Live, you can do that by making a small financial contribution to the show. There's lots of options with some great gifts of appreciation. Just go to www.patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Go Solo Live and show some love. Well, we've reached the end of today's episode, but the conversation doesn't have to end there. Follow us on Twitter at Go Solo Live. And if you like what you've heard, invite your friends to listen as well. If you want to be a guest, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly at jennifer@transformviatravel.com. And until next time, remember, go solo, not alone.